Before we get started on the story of Chicago, especially this story involving the Blackhawks saying no to the woke, I want to go ahead and kind of preface this video. We're going to be talking about what's actually going on. We're also going to be kind of following up on the previous video I did on this topic to kind of clamp down on the narrative that this entire ordeal is affecting players because the NHL, for the most part, is an international body, meaning Americans, Canadians, Eastern Europeans, and Russians. And I'm going to be giving you guys some additional thoughts as well, because now you've got Glad, of all people, are upset because certain characters are being pulled from certain television shows. So stick around, guys. Another NHL team has said no to the woke bongo. What is up, guys? John Claymore here, and we are seeing that the Chicago Blackhawks have now said no to wearing Pride jerseys on Pride Night during warm-ups. Now, guys, I have talked about this on multiple occasions, and I did a video on the New York Rangers basically saying no, so that video will be in the description box. There will also be the video that I did on Ivan Provorov. That video will also be in the description box, and the video that I did recently on James Reimer will also be in the description box as well. Now, guys, here is the deal. In the last video on James Reimer, I said that the real issue that the NHL was going to have with this is that after a while, the players, who, by the way, the NHL is an international body, meaning that you have Americans, you have Canadians, you have a lot of Russians, who, by the way, that country of Russia is not exactly friendly to those who live that lifestyle. They're not exactly friendly to wokeness. As a matter of fact, Vladimir Putin has gone out of his way in recent speeches, I may even leave one of those in the description box, to basically denounce the United States because of all the wokeness. So, this right here becomes a problem. Also, something else, too, you have a lot of other European players who are not exactly down with the woke bongo. So, we got to ask ourselves a question. Was I right in my previous video? I did say that at some point in time, the players were going to need to step up, and I felt the players were going to step up. Now, guys, here is the reason why the Chicago Blackhawks, or the reason why they are citing that the Blackhawks said no to this. And by the way, this right here will be a story sometime tomorrow, and this video right here will be the first video of the day released tomorrow, which will be sometime in the afternoon, probably right around lunch. Here's the thing. Right now, you've got a lot of Russian players, or you've got a lot of players who've got connections to Russia. This also includes players from Czechoslovakia. This also includes players from Poland. I'm not just talking about Chicago Blackhawks. I'm talking about the NHL at large. You got players from Estonia, Latvia, players from countries that are right beside Russia, that they border Russia. They have Slavic ties, and guess what? Right now, Putin's kind of looking at the situation in Europe, not just to go along with the war in Ukraine, and he may get a little bit dicey, okay? I'm not saying that he will be, but this is the excuse that's being used. My personal feeling is this right here. A lot of these Russian players, when you actually ask them what their religion is, they'll tell you that they are Christian. They are of the Orthodox faith. A lot of American players are probably Christian as well. A lot of Canadian players, I really and truly don't know, maybe Christian or Catholic. Fact of the matter is that a lot of people are beginning to wake up. They're beginning to see that this entire thing is a problem. The only thing you're doing is alienating fans, and now you're alienating players by basically making them go against their way of life, go against their religion, go against their God. I said at some point in time, this right here was not going to serve the NHL correctly. Now, guys, what I failed to mention in the video that I did last about the James Reimer situation, which, like I said, it will be there, and that will also include the little clip from what's her name, Tara Sloan, who, by the way, said that she felt this entire thing was becoming contagious. Players saying no to the Pride jersey. Players saying, basically, screw this, I'm not going to comply with it. Now, in the case of James Reimer, he already had it in his contract saying that he would not participate. In the case of Ivan Provorov, he basically said no. The New York Rangers flat out said, no, we're not going to do this mess. We're not going to display this Mickey Mouse crap, okay? That is basically what they said. Also, something else, too, the New York Islanders also said no to this. And now we're finding out that the Minnesota Wild, which, by the way, they may have been one of the first teams to come out and say something, but because the Wild is not viewed to be as prestigious of an organization, it probably did not make headlines right off the bat. Fact of the matter is, the Chicago Blackhawks, they have. Chicago, by the way, is a pretty liberal city with a pretty liberal base, and it's pretty woke. But then again, though, they kind of rejected the woke mayor, Lori Lightfoot, who I like to call Beetlejuice. Jericho Green calls her Master Splinter because of the rat problem that they had in hiring all those cats. I'm not even getting into that. But the thing is this right here. Fact of the matter is this right here. The players are saying, no, we don't want to participate in this crap anymore. And by the way, let me go ahead and say this really quick, because this is not going to be the first story that's going to be done on this particular issue, because there's obviously something going on in a country in Africa called Uganda. They straight up basically they basically banned the LGBTQ there in their country. So, to all the people who think that you're being oppressed here in the United States, let me go ahead and tell you right now, there are some countries that would love to just bend you over and just kind of like, well, I can't really simulate it here as far as actual punishment because, well, if I say something about that, YouTube may find a way to ban it. By the way, when I say bend over, I don't mean sexually. I mean a certain punishment that comes for living that lifestyle in those countries. Russia is not exactly friendly to the LGBTQ community as well. So if you're here in the United States and you are of that lifestyle, you need to go ahead and kind of get it through your minds that you are not oppressed while you're over. However, you are going out of your way. The 7.5%, which by the way is what's being reported now, is probably the most pandered to group in the nation. Now, before I get on the 7.5%, I need to go ahead and say this because we're also finding out that GLAAD, they are upset, they are screaming, they are raising 15 counts of hell because, well, let's see, they're a little bit upset that a lot of gay characters are being pulled from television shows and movies. I wonder why. People aren't watching television. People don't want to deal with the wokeness. People don't want to deal with this crap. So maybe people are starting to find out that go woke, go broke really and truly is actually a real thing. Now, I do need to say this. I do not have a problem with gay hockey players, which is not the issue here. I do not have a problem with that at all. I don't have a problem with gays in sports, period. As a matter of fact, I remember the NHL did this little thing a while back called If the Kid Can Play, the Kid Can Play. And at that time, this is back like 2010, 2011, I really and truly didn't have an issue with it. I think that something like that needs to be handled by the locker room. The locker room itself needs to make the judgment. Do we want somebody who lives a certain lifestyle in? And me personally, I really and truly don't care. My deal is this right here. As long as you're not trying to force those beliefs on me, I really and truly don't care, which, by the way, is what's really and truly going on here. We're having this crap forced down our throats every second of every day. I mean, dude, why are you having Pride Night? You have a whole month called June, which is dedicated to Pride, which I still think is kind of blasphemous. We'll discuss that at a later date. The thing is this right here. The crap is out of control. People understand this. People know this. And now you're persecuting your own players. Now, I'm pretty sure that this right here will be an issue probably sometime tomorrow, sometime over the weekend. Of course, people will complain. And, of course, you've even got this one organization that is complaining at this moment in time about it. And I really and truly don't think that the players care what you think. I think the players are done with this, and I think you're probably going to see more teams step up as a result of this. And before we end this video, let me kind of sort of go back to GLAAD. I don't think I touched on it enough, but here's the thing. You want to have characters in movies, you want to have characters in film who live a certain lifestyle, okay, but here's the problem. Right now you're doing the whole tokenism thing, which is basically what it is. What you're really doing is you're actually insulting the person you're putting out in front, not just the audience. Let me explain what I mean. Here's the deal. If I'm sitting at home and I'm a viewer and I have the woke politics being put in my face, and I've had to ask this question before. You bring me a brand new character, okay, and I ask you, what's the deal with this character? What's this person's story? And you say they're gay, or they're trans, or they identify as a woman. My next question is going to be, and? Okay, so what else does this person have to offer? You see, these characters that you're producing have absolutely nothing to offer. So next thing you know, the actor, or maybe if it's actually a person who is of a certain lifestyle, they're not getting the recognition that they need. They're just simply being recognized because of their lifestyle. They're not being recognized on their merits or their substance or substance of their character. And of course, this pisses off both sides, okay? It pisses off not only the person who is forced to watch this crap or the person who chooses to watch it and then eventually cuts it off because the crap's getting out of control, but it also alienates the person who is actually the person that you're using, the pawn that you're using. Have you ever wondered why it is that that little phrase that we're no longer allowed to say here on YouTube without getting some type of a content claim or something on it? You know, the word that begins with S, and it's basically just people ending themselves. Have you ever wondered why that rate is so high amongst that community? Also, something else too about that 7.5%. Okay, 3 years ago it was only like 2%. No, it was actually 4%. It makes you wonder exactly who the hell really and truly is living that lifestyle. You see, me personally, I think it's mostly people just ganging the system. Let me give an example of what I mean. Back in 2016 here in my home state, the bathroom bill was a very big deal. And of course, the main concern that we had was not the fact that you had potentially biological men going into women's restrooms. The problem that we had was that you had a lot of men that we knew would try to take advantage of this and that would try to actually sexually assault or physically assault, maybe not sexually, but still assault women. You'd have guys saying, look, I'm a woman, and there wasn't nothing you could do about it. That was the biggest problem that we had, and as a result of this, I'm pretty sure you guys are seeing what the hell is going on here. A lot of people are taking advantage of the system, they're taking advantage of the entire ordeal, and they're also using social media. Let me say something to you guys real quick. I do want my YouTube channel to succeed. It's part of the reason why I kind of skate my language a little bit more than I used to. Okay, obviously I made a lot of very, very big time mistakes in my YouTube career, but obviously I'm trying to correct a lot of that, and I do want it to succeed. However, the thing is this right here. When you explode with massive amounts of fame, kind of like with Dylan Mulvaney, which, by the way, will be another topic at a later date. As a matter of fact, I'm going to roll this for you guys, and then I'll kind of better explain on the other end.
For a few seconds, let me explain something. If you're not familiar with Dylan Mulvaney, this is a very prominent, with 10 million followers, trans individual. Well, self-identified. I don't believe Dylan Mulvaney is trans at all. We pulled up Dylan Mulvaney's TikTok last night, and I scrolled all the way to the bottom to look at the first posts that Dylan Mulvaney made. And what do you discover? Dylan had tried various forms of content that were not working. Animal interviews and stories from Broadway and things like that. Only a handful. But then all of a sudden, Dylan Mulvaney came out with a non-binary they-them video and got a bunch of views. First, Dylan Mulvaney was making animal interviews. Then it was gay animal interviews. Then it was I'm non-binary. Then finally trans. And when that video happens, you can see the views go from a few 100,000 to several million. Now, I'd imagine the few 100,000 views on those videos are because now people are going back and watching. But I'd imagine that back then, they weren't getting all that many views. Probably only had tens of thousands. That's not bad. But what does that mean? And how does it relate to this? Dylan Mulvaney was trying to be famous, and then declaring themselves to be trans got them millions of hits, and they chased after it. That's exactly what all of this...
All this click chasing, of course you heard Tim Pool go on about that, all this click chasing eventually leads to this great big giant high. You're being recognized for only one thing and one thing only. Your lifestyle, your gender choice, which, by the way, is just another form of queer. I'll just go ahead and say that right now, and quite frankly, that one right there I will not run from. What you're doing is you're chasing this extremely large high. Well, what happens when the jig is up? I mean, seriously, what the hell happens when the jig is up? You go all the way down, you hit rock bottom, and what the hell happens to you? Your 15 minutes of fame are over with. Granted, the 15 minutes of fame typically tend to last a little bit longer. Me, personally, I prefer much, much slower, much, much steadier growth. But still, though, at the same time, though, obviously I do want to grow. You don't want the highs to get so high that where the actual low itself, when it actually crashes, turns you into a basket case. That right there is what the hell we are creating. While these people may feel special about their lifestyle or whatnot, or the recognition they are getting, at the end of the day, it will only drag them down further because, guess what? They only got there because of their lifestyle. And guess what? People kind of know this, and people really and truly don't care. They move on very, very fast. But if you keep berating them over and over and over again with things like Pride Night, which does not matter, or you keep putting players, hockey players, in harm's way with their country going back home, after a while, people are just going to throw up their middle finger and say no. And then what the hell are you left with? All that validation is completely gone. See what I'm saying? So good on the Chicago Blackhawks for saying no to this nonsense. Good on the Chicago Blackhawks players for saying, look, we got these guys who play with us. We got these guys who work with us. We got these guys we probably hang out with in the off the ice. We got these guys that we probably are really good friends with. We probably know one of those families. Yeah, it might be a good idea to maybe say no to participating in the woke propaganda. Maybe it's a good idea that we say no to putting potentially their lives on the line because of Russia's policy on the LGBTQ community. And by the way, a lot of these players, they don't live here in the United States. They stay here temporarily and then they go back. They also do what? They play like in the KHL. They play in like the Russian hockey leagues over there in the off season to kind of keep themselves warm, kind of keep themselves fresh. I'm pretty sure Pooty Poot ain't going to be good about that. But then again, though, who the hell knows? Fact of the matter is that the NHL players are starting to wake up. NHL players are starting to see exactly how it's affecting their brethren, meaning their teammates, and they're starting to step up for them and say no to this woke bullcrap, this garbage. With that right there being said, guys, John Claymore here. If you like the content, hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.